Are they not all in thy book? When I cry unto thee, then shall mine enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me. In God will I praise his word. In the Lord will I praise his word. In God have I put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. God bless you. You may be seated. Amen. Thank you, Urshas. You may be relieved of your post. I want to highlight verse 8 again for where we gain our thought from on today. He says, thou tellest my wanderings. Put thou my tears into thy bottle. Are they not in thy book? Brothers and sisters, a prayer has been lifted and rendered from a man who is no stranger to the church. This particular biblical character in whom I am running reference to today, most of us, if not all of us, can identify along with him. This man had gone through some things. There were things that transpired in his life that brought needless tears to his eyes. Most of us, if not all of us in here, can identify that life has a strange way of causing you so much hurt and pain until it causes us to shed some tears. Today I want to simply talk about, Lord, put my tears in a bottle. Lord, put my tears in a bottle. And in the army of Christ here who are gathered, I would that you repeat our thought after us, if you would, Lord, put my tears in a bottle. Give the Lord a hand praise in this place. Allow me to begin by saying to you that when a loved one dies, coroner will examine his or her body and investigate the cause of their death. The coroner would take out, amen, the liver, the lungs, heart, the kidneys, and complete a thorough examination to explain what contributed to his or her death. But so far, I've never observed a coroner with all of his medical degrees and expertise examine a tear or tears and come up with a conclusion of what caused the tear of the deceased. Brothers and sisters, let's consider this thought. The human brain consists of two sides, both left and right. Now, the woman brain has something connected to her brain that the man don't have enough of. And it's simply called the corpus callosum. And it is much thicker, amen, for the female than the male. The left side of her brain deals with the physical side, but the right side of her brain deals with her emotions. This side of the woman's brain makes the woman cry quicker than a man would. And the scan of the female brain shows that both left and right hemisphere are working actively while talking is being carried out. But only the left hemisphere is mainly committing in a man's brain. Therefore, it can be assumed that men learn the way to communicate without relying on the language as much. And so what does that have to do with us? Well, I'm glad you asked the question here, because it needs to be clearly understood about how our emotions come into play. Some folks would tell you, amen, that you ought not cry, you ought not let, amen, this get you down, or you ought not let that get you down. But brothers and sisters, if you continue to live long enough, life has a way of throwing some things at you, amen, and one minute you find yourself happy, and the next minute you are shedding tears. David here, our speaker, had gone through some difficult times in his life, and he ended up shedding many tears. And so David requested to the Lord, he said, Lord, don't put my tears in a book. But he says, Lord, take my tears and put them in a bottle. Well, then the question would be, why not take the tears and put them on paper? Amen. But David, times of tears were shed in a bottle, amen, by mourners. And they would put, amen, their tears that were in that bottle, and they would take it, amen, when their loved one died, and they would put it in the tomb of their departed loved ones. But please understand, the Persians' assemblies of mourning was that the priests would collect the tears in cotton gauzes, amen, and then squeeze them into the mouth of the dying one, and this would preserve their lifespan, amen, a little while longer. But if God would have put David's tears in a book, the tears would have evaporated out of God's minute book, talking about the book of life. But so he requested to God, he said, God, take my tears, place them in a bottle. So when he met God in heaven, God would explain what those tears meant that David couldn't understand. Why God would take him through some of the things he went through. And I'll come out and tell you that all that we don't understand now, we will understand it better by and by. Now, there are three types of tears, and I want to look at today, and then I'm going to go to a seat. And that those three tears that I want to deal with are the tears of deception. Talk about things that will make us cry. Tears of deception, number one, the tears of desires. And then number three, the tears of division. Well, number one, when we talk about the tears of deception, I need somebody to come along and help me. Come here, David. And while you're at it, bring your two sons, amen, along with you. Amen. Bring them with you. But David says, you know what? I had some family problems. There might be somebody in here right now. You are going through some family problems. You're going through some difficult times. Amen. Listen, David said, listen, I was the 8th and youngest son of my daddy, Jesse. And from the kingly tribe of Judah. And he was also, amen, he said, listen, I was also a descendant of Ruth, who was the Moabites. And David said, listen, I began my life as a shepherd in Bethlehem. But one day, the prophet Samuel called me out of the field and anointed me to become the king of Israel. And I can imagine David's personal tears appeared when his son Amnon, y'all remember, raped Tamar, which was Amnon's half sister. And Absalom, who was David's